Hapless teenagers beset by demons in the woods. A strange new drug that turns art into murder. A can't beat a deal on a new house with a horrifying past. A video game that might usher in the apocalypse. From the demented mind of Sean C. Baker, author of A Collection of Desires, Shadow Play, and Murder Virus, comes Volume 4, collecting Baker's no-sleep work along with several never-before-published short stories. This 99-cent volume also includes the opening chapter of the author's forthcoming teenage giallo novel, Black Gloves and Broken Hearts, due out later this year.
Hello, welcome to the Horror Vision Horror Podcast. My name is Sean.
And I'm Missy.
And August 30th. August 30th was the 9-year anniversary of Wes Craven's death. Because he died August 30th, 2015. So that is absolutely mind-boggling. And Missy and I talked about this. We've been trying to cobble together this episode for a couple weeks, but just shit happened. So this is going to post well after August 30th, 2024. But we're going to honor one of the masters, and we're going to do it by talking about some lesser known work. I mean, I guess one of these is definitely lesser known. One of them is lesser known, and one of them is lesser known. Like horror fans know it, but
oh yeah, I mean horror fans will know them.
I don't know, one of them I don't even know that a lot of people, because okay, so we're gonna start with let's go in order of lesser known. So Missy, what are we gonna start with?
Deadly Friend, from 1986. Starring Matthew Laborto and Christy Swanson.
So Christy Swanson would then go on to be the original Buffy the Vampire Slayer not too long after this.
Yeah.
Also, you forgot, possibly the most recognizable, no, in fact, 100% the most recognizable member of this cast is Anne fucking Ramsey.
Oh,
Owen! Throw mama from a train in Goonies.
The Goonies lady.
She's
I never remember that actress's name.
I had never seen this. I had only very peripherally been aware of it. Like if I'd read about Wes Craven, I'd see it mentioned. I might have looked it up and been like, what the hell is that? Never saw it, knew nothing about it. And Kirsten's aunt is staying with us right now, and I don't remember what we watched or whatever, but we watched something on Prime, and then like the movies that were suggested, like also watched. I was going through trailers, and we landed on Deadly Friend, and her aunt's like, oh, what's that? And we watched a trailer, and I was like, oh, fuck, this is that Wes Craven movie. So the next night we went to watch it, and I swear to God, I'm like, wait a minute, I didn't remember there being anything at all in the trailer about a fucking robot, because this starts and I'm like, is this like his version of Short Circuit? I was like, I thought this was about like a fucking killer girlfriend or something. And then like, things progress, but I kept thinking I had the wrong movie. There is a scene with a basketball where after that fucking scene, everybody in the house had a smile on their face. I just sat back, put my fucking feet up, and I was
Yeah.
like, fucking Uncle Wes, man, thank you. I miss you so much. So when did you first see this movie?
When I was a kid, like junior high, I've known
Wow.
this movie forever. That's why, I mean, when you said that you were going to watch it and said, "Hey, have you ever heard of it?" Like, oh yeah, it's on my shelf. Like, I can go watch that now.
Huh.
Like, I have it in my collection. I've known the movie since I was in my teens, discovering horror movies. I caught it on a late night TV when I was a kid. I don't think it was a TV movie. Um, I think it had a theatrical release, but it did not do well. Um, but I saw it on late night TV because I was always a nocturnal insomniac kid, and I'd find movies, and I don't know, it always it always stuck with me. The the robot thing in the beginning was a little bit weird, but it didn't bother me too much. Honestly, it feels even more relevant now because I hate AI and all of the smart things that want to talk devices that want to talk to me and whatnot. Um, I mean, I grew up watching Terminator, and
I know,
you know
right?
what happened by that. You know what the hell?
I know. Yeah, I'm not a fan either. It just seems to make
So, like, I mean, if they made this movie now, she'd be AI. You know, in this case, it was like a more standard robot. But I mean, it was 1986.
well,
And
so
it's
this
based
is
off of some young adult novel from
oh.
way back then. I've not read it. Um, I actually last time I watched the movie, I tracked it down. I have because the book's out of print. You can't read it digitally.
Diana
Um,
Henstel is the author, and the book is Friend.
Friend. It's just called Friend. It's just always been in my life, and and it's very nostalgic for me. Like it's a movie that always feels like summer and reminds me of how I felt when I saw it when I was 13, 14, somewhere around there. Um, and it was one of the first times that, and probably the reason I connected with it was because it leans into this whole humans are the monsters kind of
Hmm.
theme, and and where your protagonist can be the monster, but may or may not be the bad guy. Like that was one of the first times I had seen that kind of theme too, and we know that I gravitate toward it.
Right.
I'd never thought about it until I was thinking about it for the show, but it's probably one of, if not the first movie that I had ever seen that kind of started to do that.
It's an interesting movie in that watching it for the first time as an adult and not having any connection to it. And just I'm telling you, because I was so thrown for a fucking loop with the robot. I was like, wait, what? But it's like he has this idea that's a very Wes Craven. It reminds me like a little bit of like there were other movies around the time like The Bad Seed and shit like that were kind of in a similar vein. And it's almost like he decided to take what was hot at the time because I think of this like another movie I didn't see as a kid. I saw just a couple years ago. Kirsten's like, "How did you never see this? Flight of the Navigator?" I fucking hate it. Like I fucking hated it.
Yeah,
Um,
I saw it as a kid.
oh, I fucking hate it. But it's that there was that it was in vogue to do that robot thing then, right? Like, oh, kids and robots, and let's have a good time, and there's
Right.
danger, but the robot will save. So he does that, and it's kind of like splits it in half. It's like half that, and then half like a Wes Craven movie, right? So that's kind of
Hmm.
interesting. It wasn't what I expected. I feel like it was definitely a marketing decision on somebody's part to like amplify the amount of time they spent with the robot because it really spent more time with it than I was like,
Right.
what? not a complaint. Now, like once you get through it, I'm like, I see what they did. Okay, now I get it. But while I was watching, I was just like, I mean, I was so convinced I had the wrong movie. I was like, what the fuck? But
Yeah, you sent me something, and I had a feeling it had to do with that. So I'm like, he'll figure it out in about 15 minutes.
yeah, but it was entertaining as hell, and as rough as it was to kind of like hang through that
The
first part
beginning.
again, the basketball scene, and just so the basic gist is, I mean, this movie is almost 40 years old, so spoilers be damned. Kid moves to a new neighborhood with just his mom. I mean, it's like the most typical fucking setup in the 80s, like kid and single mom move to a new, area. He befriends somebody. The girl next door is kind of sweet on him. They kind of start to hang out. Her father's a fucking piece of shit that beats the shit out of her and ends up killing her. And then he has a robot, and Anne Ramsey kills the robot, and so he basically like somehow sticks her brain in the fucking robot now, or no, actually sticks. Well, he reanimates her body, but with the it's like the hybrid. I don't even know
Yeah,
how to explain it. Actually, it's like
right. I mean,
it's the girl,
the
but she
kid that
behaves like a robot, but she also behaves like the
well,
girl.
I mean, the kid himself is like a genius, and he's like going to med school.
Yes, that's right.
And he
Okay,
built
that
the
was a. I shouldn't have left that out.
and he built the robot too.
Yes.
He implants the robot brain into her brain, but I don't know what. I mean, it's got a bit of reanimator in it, and
Yeah.
like that kind of vibe to it. But she's operating. She's still got some of herself in there, but she's
Yes.
operating on robot brain.
Yes, but it is still her, which was it's kind of a weird like they really wanted. I feel like writing that I'd be a little bit like, what am I doing? Because it's like you kind of are bending the rules a little bit. I mean, you can make the rules, but it's like I don't know. It seems like they just want what they want, and the rules of the universe be damned. But it was a good time. It was fun, and I don't know. It's just interesting. I'd never seen it before, and I didn't, without a nostalgia connection to it, and with this kind of goofiness and whatnot, I still enjoyed it, and I didn't not like it. So that was kind of
I'm
cool.
glad because when you messaged me about it, my first thought was, oh, I don't, because it is a bit dated. I love it, but it's a bit dated. I mean, it feels like a movie from 1986. I'm like, oh God, Sean's gonna watch this and he's gonna freaking hate it. And it's a little bit of a like the pacing's a little bit weird. From what I understand, the book Friend that it's based on is not necessarily horror. It's much more focused on the relationship
Okay.
between the two leads, Paul and Sam, the zombie robot girl. And then it was made into it runs kind of a basic slasher formula, and I don't
Yeah.
know how much of that is actually in the book. So I mean the beginning is slow, and it does focus a lot on on their relationship, them becoming friends and stuff before we get into the the slasher part of the movie. But I think it's a fun watch. I've always thought it was a fun watch. And I it didn't do well, but I think part of the problem is that especially at that time in the 80s, they wanted these stories to fit in boxes.
Yeah.
The movies you hear about that got butchered are usually movies that they were horror adjacent, but they weren't straight on horror movies, and they just didn't know what to do with them. It's what they did to Nightbreed. They butchered my favorite movie. Um, because they tried to make it a slasher film. From what I understand, there was some of that in this too. And at the time, it was heavily edited. No, it's been restored because it's been restored because I was reading something and I checked because the DVD I have, the basketball scene is a lot more tame. But
Oh.
the version I watched digitally on Amazon and downloaded, I digitally purchased it because it was like $5 or something. has the full scene with the basketball with this wonderful practical
Yeah,
effect where his head explodes and the whole thing with the you actually see the body kind of run around
yeah,
and twitch a little with blood
yeah.
coming out. That is not in the cut I have.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Really cool. In
Wow.
the cut I have, the theatrical cut, I mean, it's just an old school, very basic DVD that I have. Um, you see the basketball hit and then it cuts away. You don't see the body.
So I'm really curious now. I'll bet that how I said I think that it was a marketing decision to kind of like use a lot more of that like Flight of the Navigator kind of tendency. I'll bet that was the studio trying to fit that, like monkeying around with it to try and fit it in with something. Because I don't know, I enjoy it, and I'm okay when I realize, oh, you're like putting like two, it's like chocolate and peanut butter. You're putting two things that kind of seem like they don't belong together and getting something unique out of it. That's what I found kind of thrilling about this movie, where it's like, oh,
Mm-hmm.
this, preteen robot, whatever from the 80s combined with like a slasher. But I really wonder if, because again, I felt like the first half of that movie was like it just seemed like there was too much of that. I mean, I don't know what the runtime was by the time we get to her, but
And because
it
I
was a
always write it
while.
down, it's an hour and 31 minutes. I mean,
So
it's only a 90-minute movie.
but I'm
So
thinking it's like at least almost an hour before she actually comes back. Like it feels like more, like at least half, if not more, of the movie
yeah,
is
it's at least at the 45-minute mark, and it
yeah,
could be an hour.
yeah. So I mean, it works, but it just seems like that. I don't know that that was the movie that he wanted to make, but whatever. I mean, it's one of the great things about him, and we'll segue into the next movie here because this is a great example, um, where he just kind of like some of his ideas are fucking nuts, and he just makes them work. Like,
Mm-hmm.
fucking shocker. Okay, this is our next movie. This movie's not going to win any fucking awards, and it's so obvious that everybody involved is trying to make this another Nightmare on Elm Street, and it's also obvious that it's going to fucking fail. However, it's a fucking good standalone flick, man. I had a really, really good time watching this.
This is one of my favorite Wes Craven movies, and again, like all three of these movies, when you brought it up, it's like I can just go to the shelf and get them. They've always been there. I've been watching them since I was 13. Um, but Shocker is by far my favorite of the ones we watched, in our little trifecta here, and it's just one of my favorite Wes Cravens in general. It's one of those movies I can always put on, and it'll always make me happy. Um, the soundtrack to that movie was a staple throughout my high school Walkman life,
That's cool.
and as soon as I put it on, from beginning to end, I will sing every song, cheesy 80s metal song in this movie. Um, I love it. It's it's fun, it's snappy, it's everything I love about a good slasher. Um, you know, it's got a nice high body count. The the effects are good. Like, and Mitch Pileggi, man, he's as Horace Pinker. He's always freaking awesome.
It's so fun. So I watched this about whenever it came out on VHS, right? Is I watched this with some friends and I
89.
had no
It
vested
came
interest
out.
in it. Huh?
It came out in '89.
So okay, so and the only thing I remembered the basic setup, right? I mean, you can tell by the fucking VHS cover. The guy gets electrocuted and he's a criminal, he's a killer, he gets the death sentence and he becomes like basic the electricity somehow enables him to jump body to body, right? And
Yeah, he's doing some kind of ritual.
so
Some kind of black
I
magic.
remembered just that basic setup, and I remembered that when I was watching it, I just guessed it was like a movie where we were watching it at a sleepover. It was like me and two other guys, I think, And I would be like, oh, and then this is going to happen. And it happened. And then, oh, I'll bet this happens. And it happened. I did that the whole movie. And they were like, shut the fuck up. But it was the first time in my life I ever like saw everything coming. So I always kind of remembered it as being not very good. And I was so fucking wrong. Like, I, I don't, I feel like you can, who cares that you can see what's coming? But I didn't remember like the fucking weird black magic angle. I didn't, there were so many things I didn't remember about this movie. And like the whole dream like thing is just really fucking weird. Where he like dreams what's going to happen before it happens. Cause it's like,
where they're connected.
I mean, I feel like he couldn't get away from the dream thing because of Freddie, but it's also probably just like a preoccupation that he had an interest, right? A philosophical interest. So it works really well, even though it seems like it shouldn't.
He's always been interested in dreams. We see it pop up in so many of his movies.
But then the whole like climax where they're going through the TV stations, I was
It's
like,
fun.
it's really, really fucking fun. It is just weird and it's just weird, but it fucking works,
Weird,
man. I
wonderful.
really liked it.
And I've loved it since I was 13. I mean, some sometimes it doesn't matter that you can see it coming. I mean,
Yeah,
I was thinking about this morning, and I was trying to explain it to my dad because somehow we started talking about Jason movies, and he thought there were only 6 of them, and was surprised to find out there were 12. And I went into a, a litany about all these different movies, and he's asking me, he was asking me, like, how, how can you watch what is basically the same movie 12 times? And I told him, I mean, to me, I find the formula comforting in a way.
yeah. It's dude,
I
it's a
know,
procedural. Like in a way, it's
right.
not, but I mean, people say that about procedurals. I just like to watch Law and Order because it's
Well,
comforting
I like
because
those
it's
too.
so there,
I
I
like
mean,
those
it's a
too.
similar thing.
Or me and my stupid shark movies. Like, I find the formula comforting. And I mean, I like when they break the rules and change things up, but I like those kind of movies. And if I'm having a crappy day, I can put on something like Shocker and I know what I'm going to get. And it doesn't
Yeah.
matter that I know what I'm going to get. I'm also going to get a high body count, lots of
Yep.
blood, fun music. You know, the scene went toward the end where they're hopping through all the different channels, all the different shows. I mean, now it's been done on Supernatural and all these different shows. But at that time, that was pretty inventive.
Yeah.
We hadn't been seen it 100 times yet.
It was really fun. And like John Tesh, I just was like, I was so blown away that they had John Tesh. I was like, that's awesome.
It's super amazing that it is, even with its problems, that it's as coherent as it is.
Yeah,
Because,
it's
of
pretty
course,
coherent.
with all of Wes Craven's movies, it was severely cut off. It took 13 times to the MPAA before they would give it an R.
Wow.
Yeah,
Wow.
I mean,
It seems so harmless now.
yeah,
I'd
yeah.
like to go back to that MPAA board and give them a copy of Terrifier 2 and see what they would think of that. I mean,
those people would have had aneurysms. Oh my
yes.
God.
Yeah. 100%. I mean, I can't imagine that there would be anything like, like what we see in some stuff today.
Right, but I mean, 13 times. And I mean, it was always intended to, if it did well, it would have been a franchise, but
You could tell.
yeah, it was built that way. And it has tons of similar themes to Nightmare on Elm Street. I mean, they open the same with Freddy working on the glove and Pinker working on the TVs and
Yeah.
whatnot. It's got the same opening. It's got the prophetic nightmares that end up being real. The disbelieving police officer fathers,
Yep.
the killer seeking revenge on the the people who caused his death. Like it's a very similar storyline, background, whatever, lots of similar themes, but it's unique enough.
Yeah, it's. I think it's very unique. It doesn't feel like Nightmare on Elm Street at all.
It doesn't.
Uh,
I mean,
there's
if you're looking,
similarities, but
sure,
it's its own
you'll
thing.
see a lot of similar themes and whatnot, but it doesn't feel like a Freddy ripoff. It feels like its own thing once it gets rolling, and it's a good time.
I love the fact that, first of all, I just love analog TVs, so I love seeing a lot of TVs, especially if they're like just on static or whatever. That's a great image. But also, I love the sequence where he gets into the little girl. Like that's, I saw
Oh
it
yeah,
coming, but I was like hoping that, I'm like, he's totally gonna do this because I feel like other directors might have backed away from that. But that was very, very cool. I like that.
right. And Wes Craven's like, fuck it, we'll have the little purple and pink princess who's all 5 years old driving a forklift saying, "Get out of the way, fuckers."
Yeah, that was fucking great. Oh my God. So much fun. This movie, Deadly Friend is on Prime right now. It's included. Shocker, they just put on Shudder. I'm assuming because of the anniversary of Craven's death. So I don't know how long it'll be on there, but it's there. And then so is our final movie in our trifecta.
The People Under the Stairs, which is also on Shudder right now.
That's what I'm saying. This is also on Shudder. So,
Yeah.
weird thing with this movie, I'd never sat down and watched this movie. I've seen
Really?
parts of it, like enough where I'd probably seen 80 to 90% of the movie, maybe, but
Oh,
never at the same time. So I'd see like this part or this part or this part. And
so all
this
three
is
of these movies were pretty much new to you.
in a way, yeah. Well, Shocker, I'd seen the one time and had a decent memory of it, but I mean, this and Deadly Friend, well, Deadly Friend was 100% new. I didn't even really know about it, but People Under the Stairs, I don't remember where or when I'd seen pieces before. I remember the first time I saw it, I was blown away by the fact that it's fucking Ed and Nadine from Twin Peaks.
Mhm. That's why it amazes me that you had not seen this movie.
It's so fucking, it's just so weird. So Wendy Roby and Everett McGill play the people in the
Mommy and Daddy.
house, mommy and daddy, and this movie's fucking nuts. Like the first time I remember seeing this, I was like, I don't like the tone of this. It seems goofy. Like I remember the box, the VHS box looks very severe, and what I saw of the movie made me think it was like, I'm like, what is this? It's like a comedy? It just felt like a misstep. So I was never super interested in pursuing it. Um, and then I had seen like pieces of it at some point later. I mean, this is going back a long time. And I was kind of curious, but whatever. But sitting down to watch it, I totally got it this time,
Okay.
100%. And it's fucking nuts. Like it
Yep.
is fucking bonkers.
I fucking love it. I love all three of these movies to varying degrees. Shocker the
This is
most,
so
but
unique. This is so
it
fucking
is.
unique. And you know what struck me? This would be a perfect double feature with Barbarian.
Yeah, it
There's
would.
there's similarities in a way, but there's not. Like I don't think anything about this movie informed Barbarian, but and it's not just the people underground kind of thing. There's
Hmm.
just it's what's hidden in your own neighborhood that you don't know about. You know what I mean? That kind of thing.
Hmm. I could see that. I mean, if I was showing it as a double feature, I'd show Barbarian first, though.
Yeah, I
I'd
would
close
too.
because what you were just saying that you had always thought was a misstep is probably the reason I love it so much because it the movie, the subject matter, the imagery, it's all fucked, but it's so outlandish and over the top in some points that it actually gives it this fun
Yeah.
feeling. So it's not a heavy watch, it's a
No.
fun watch. It's a super fun watch but it's really fucked up.
And that's similar with Barbarian, where if you stop and think about the subject matter and the whys and
But
wherefores of what's
Barbarian is
going
not
on.
fun. It's a great movie, but it's not fun. This is fun.
Oh, I think Barbarian's super fun.
Really, Barbarian feels very like serious to me.
I mean, it is, but
Like
I
heavy.
still think it's, I don't know. There's things about it that are fun and whatnot. But this is like, it's just like you said, it's so over the top. Like Everett McGill, when he first comes out in that gimp suit with the shotgun, it's like, what in the fuck is happening right now? Like, like it's such a weird choice. There's nothing that suggests it's going to be that. You know what I mean? And there's no reason for it. It's just there.
It's every time he's hunting, he wears that.
It's so fucking weird.
And it was super fucking weird for 1991.
Yeah,
Like that outfit scared the shit out of people.
yeah. I, I mean, it's not just the whole like element of like the ghetto, right? So it's like where you have your black protagonist, and Fool's fucking awesome. Like he's
Yeah.
just fucking fantastic, and he's another
What
reason why it
have
works.
we?
It's so lighthearted.
Because I don't think I've ever seen that kid in anything else. Did he just disappear?
I don't know. I did look him up. He still acts, but
Okay.
not anything that I knew. It's just it's a weird angle for the way that they get into the movie, and I don't know. It's God. It's just it is so unique.
It's very unique. It's got a real unique energy. Typically, with what the subject matter is, with, I mean, the baseline is that this kid's family is going to be evicted. They live in the ghetto. Everybody knows that the terrible landlords are rich, and people keep trying to rob them. They live in, this weird fortress, and this kid and his sister's boyfriend are going to break in and try and find their riches and take care of their family. The mother's dying and needs an operation or something like that, I think. Um, so that's the basic gist, and then you find out that these people have been kidnapping humans and keeping them under
Yeah,
the under the floor and whatnot. And that could have very easily turned into something that I would hate,
yeah,
like a girl next door, Jack Ketchum torture porny kind of thing, and that would not have been my jam. But again, this doesn't even feel heavy. It's just freaking fun. Um, the kid who plays Fool gives a hell of a performance, and Sean Whalen, the guy who plays, okay, both of them in particular were have always their performances have always stayed with me. Those are the characters I like best.
wait, I'm
Um,
sorry. Him and who was the other one?
Sean Whalen, the one who plays Roach,
Oh yeah. He's
Boy in the
fucking great.
Wall.
He's
It
great.
was his first movie. It was his very first film. Yeah, I had seen this when it first came out, at the Second Run Theater, at Bremen Theaters when I was a kid. But I'd buy tickets for whatever was playing, and then I'd just go in the theater I wanted. Nobody really
Hmm.
paid. So I'd always see R-rated movies when I was underage. That this movie was actually my first exposure to tarot and where my interest in it came from.
Oh, interesting.
This is the first time I had seen tarot cards, and then the tarot pretty much runs through the whole movie, especially because our protagonist is Fool.
Yeah, Fool.
He's certainly on a fool's quest. I love its blend of super fucked up, but it doesn't turn into a horror comedy, but it's still like a fast-paced monster movie, and it combines into this really unique package. I mean, there's parts of this movie that are genuinely scary that have creeped me the fuck out since I was a kid and still do.
I could
And
see that.
him running around in that fucking gimp suit with the giant shotgun shooting through the walls, like that shit scared the hell out of me.
It's so fucking bizarre. It's just so bizarre.
Yeah,
And just
it's
the
weird
layout
and
of the
wonderful.
house. Go ahead.
No,
Oh, it's just the layout of the house and the way there's always some new surprise, like not just like, and it works both ways. There's the surprises that are the bad surprises for Fool and Roach and Alice, and then there's like the surprises that are like that Roach introduces him to, right? So there, the house is like it looks like a mansion from the outside, but inside. And the funny thing is, it's like really nice house. This furniture is like all like historic, like antiques and all this
yeah,
stuff.
like
And
old wood.
but he's like fucking Everett McGill's running through the house with a shotgun, constantly just blowing holes and everything. Like
Right.
literally, I don't even know. It was well into the movie when I was like, I should have counted how many times he fucking shot through either the ceiling or the wall, because it's got to be at least 10 times. It's just constant. That was so fucking weird. Always nice to see Kelly Jo Minter too, Fool's sister. She's fucking
Oh,
great.
okay.
She's just one of those actresses that kind of disappeared after the 80s and early 90s, and I remember her from so many fucking movies.
Okay. Okay. And I mean, always happy to see Ving Rhames too.
Yeah, Ving Rhames, yeah, and probably one of his earlier movies, I'm assuming.
Yeah, very young looking Ving Rhames.
Yeah, it's a
But
fucking
I
good
mean,
time. I really
it's
like
a
this
good
movie.
time, and it's it's serious enough that it can feel scary. So I mean, as long as you can accept its somewhat ridiculous premise, if you can accept that, you're gonna take the ride and have a good time.
Yeah, I think if people that have not seen this, or maybe like me, like misjudged it, I think if you liked Barbarian, seek this movie out. It's on Shutter now, like we said. Watch this movie again or watch it for the first time, but it's not the same tone, but there's a similarity, and I feel like it's just fucking unique. It's just weird and like you're just like, wow, really? You're watching it, you're like, holy shit, it's fucking nuts.
Yeah, it's pretty brutal too. Like there's everything with Roach, like that really resonated with me when I was a kid. Like it creeped me the fuck out. I felt so bad for his character.
Yeah,
But yeah, it's gory, it's scary, it's full of rebellion. It's a real good time. And I agree that it would pair well with Barbarian, but if you're looking to do that as a double feature, I'd recommend doing Barbarian first and then go close with The People Under the Stairs.
yeah, I could see that totally.
Because I'm a firm believer in you always show the slower, more serious movie first.
Yes, I
The
agree. I agree. I mean, I don't know the Barbarian's slow, but it's more serious for sure.
right, that's what I mean. It's
Yeah.
totally different than this, and this is a real banger. So this is
Yeah,
what you
I
close.
don't. I do think I like Barbarian to me is fun. Like, there's just things about it where
Real serious to me.
it doesn't to me. I mean, it is, but it doesn't to me. Like, it's not just the stuff with what's his name that's funny, Justin Long, but it's like just the revelation of like what the monster is and what it wants is just one of those where it's like, oh my God, are you fucking kidding me? Like, I literally think the first time I saw it, I was like laughing in the theater, like, this is fucking so batshit crazy right now. And and I don't know, it's got a sense of humor. It's not a comedy, but it's got a sense of humor. And I feel like there's that element with People Under the Stairs too, where he just is like, let's dial it up a little bit more than would normally be done. And it actually managed to, you dial up the severity and it actually takes the edge off somehow.
Yeah,
And
Yeah,
part
it's
of that is
creepy.
the performances because Wendy Roby and Everett McGill are fucking fantastic. Like they're really
Yeah,
fucking
all
good.
of them are.
Yeah, all of them are. But I did want to mention that.
The three kid leads are all three of them are fantastic.
Yeah, yeah,
Um,
everybody in it's good. But as bad guys, they are.
Ro-
It's just
Roach
so.
School and
Oh,
AJ Langer is Alice,
yeah,
and like very strong performances. Everything is played straight. There's humor in it, but there's humor in it, and the violence is like uber over the top. But they play it straight, and that's probably why it
yeah,
works so well for.
yep, yeah.
I
I
wouldn't
agree.
have known that at the time, but since I started doing the podcast with you guys, I'm getting better at noticing stuff like that.
Oh, fucking Wes Craven, man,
We
miss him,
miss you.
miss him.
Yep. Finished watching that and then launched right into watching the Scream movies because I wasn't ready to stop. The
I'm
good
gonna
one.
be doing Serpent in the Rainbow soon. Totally different tonally, but it's one of my favorite of his movies. One that left an impression on me at a young age. So
Okay.
it's been a minute.
Well, I'll rewatch it with you.
Okay.
I don't remember that one super well. I remember it being very good. It's probably one of the Cravens I've seen the least.
Hmm.
Um, I think because it's so tonally different, and I'll be more receptive to it now than I was when I was younger, for sure. I remember it being good but slow.
I mean, I guess maybe it's slow. I don't know. I just remember seeing it as a kid on Channel 9 WGN and as like a Tuesday night movie or whatever. And I can literally picture myself just staring at the screen and not moving. It's got one of the most terrifying concepts in it. There's just this moment in it that is just absolutely bone chilling to me. And Bill Pullman, he's fucking aces in it. He's so good. So, but that's another movie, that's another show. But yeah, this was our love letter to lesser known Wes Craven and to Wes Craven. And Wes, we miss you.
Mhm.
And it's the
I
Horror
miss you.
Vision. I'm Sean.
And I'm Missy.